100 days since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, it has become Europe's worst armed conflict in decades. Tens of thousands of civilians and soldiers are likely to have been killed. Millions more have been forced to flee the country or have been internally displaced. Factories, hospitals, bridges, schools and residences have been destroyed. When Russia invaded Ukraine on the 24th of February, it had hoped to overrun the country in a blitz lasting only days or a few weeks. But as Moscow's invasion reaches the 100-day mark, the Kremlin appears to be stuck in what looks like a war of attrition, with no end in sight and few successes on the battlefield. However, it seems increasingly unlikely to loosen its grip on the territory it has gained so far. Seizing on Ukraine's mistakes when Kyiv didn't block the border with Belarus and left a path to Crimea not fortified enough, Russian forces promptly ended up on the outskirts of Kyiv and other big cities. But soon they lost this benefit. Convoys of Russian armour seemed stalled on long stretches of highway. Troops ran out of supplies, especially fuel, becoming easy targets. In the meantime, Russia declared a shift of focus to the eastern industrial region of the Donbass, where Moscow-backed separatists has been fighting Ukrainian forces since 2014. Russia has seized significant chunks of territory around the Crimean Peninsula that Moscow annexed 8 years ago. It has also managed to cut Ukraine off completely from the Sea of Azov, finally securing full control over the key port of Mariupol after an almost 3-month siege. Moscow's losses have forced it to rely increasingly on hastily patched-together units that could only make small gains. But the offensive in the east seems to have become bogged down as well, as Western arms flow into Ukraine to bolster its outgunned army. The European Union gave its final approval to new sanctions on Russian oil and top bank Sberbank after rat-wrangling with Hungary as punishment for Russian President Vladimir Putin's 24th February invasion of Ukraine. EU leaders, used to plentiful supplies of Russian energy, agreed to an embargo on crude oil imports that will take full effect by the end of 2022. Hungary and 2 other landlocked Central European states secured exemptions for the pipeline imports that they rely on. The 6th round of sanctions also included cutting Russia's biggest bank, Sberbank, off from the SWIFT international transaction system. The war brought ties between Russia and the West to new lows, and the latest EU sanctions will cut 90% of Russian oil imports to the bloc at 27 nations and 450 million people. As Friday marked the 100th day since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Kyiv residents said they fear the war won't end soon, but remain optimistic they will achieve victory.
Люди вже до цього звиклися. Звичайно, ніхто вже не живе в такому відчутті, що це десь далеко, це вже тут. Але, звикаєш до всього. Важко було, мабуть, морально перший місяць-півтора. Далі вже якось звикаєш.
An outdoor exhibition has seized Russian military hardware in central Kyiv reminded them that the war was still ongoing, even though the military actions have moved to the east of the country.
Війна не закінчилася, так? Вона продовжується, і вона продовжується і в житті кожного з нас, тому що ми це все бачимо, це все чуємо, це все аналізуємо, і наші друзі десь на передових, десь на навчаннях. І ти за них переживаєш, хвилюєшся, тому, звісно, війна не закінчилася, але дуже хочеться, щоб вона швидше закінчилася. Це стан, знаєте, такого внутрішнього оцепеніння, коли ти не дозволяєш собі дуже глибоко вникати, усвідомлювати усі ці страшні втрати, які ми маємо, тому що інакше ти просто розклеїшся і не зможеш виконувати всі свої зобов'язання, функції.
Russian forces advanced deep into the ruined eastern factory city of Severodonetsk, but Ukrainian troops were still holding out on Friday. Ukraine's defense minister said his troops were already training in Europe to operate new, advanced missile systems pledged this week by the United States and Britain, which Kyiv hopes will help swing the battle in his favour in the coming weeks. A war that Western countries believe Russia planned to win within hours has ground on for more than 3 months, with Moscow having been driven back from the capital for launching a huge new assault in the east.
Занадто сильні, значно сильніші, ніж нам здавалося. Третє, враховуючи, що наша економіка продовжує працювати, вона ще крутіша, ніж нам могло собі уявлятися, коли бакс був по 27 або, може, навіть по 8. Четверте, ми обов'язково переможемо. 100%.